My name is Daryl. Kwawu. Thanks for being with us. Details coming up. Well, first up, Ghana is hoping to secure a 7-year moratorium on Eurobond interest payments as it moves to restructure the debt instruments. It's also pushing for up to 40% interest rate cut. Government is opening talks with Eurobond holders today in London to negotiate the restructuring of the papers. Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta hopes these commercial creditors will accept government's offer.
You know we are paying February 22nd, so we are getting ready for that one. The external, certainly we have moved everything to 2026, so that gives us a relief. And then we'll see what happens with the Eurobond investors. As long as we keep increasing our revenue, maintain the expenditure, and then the central bank continues to build its reserves, I think we are going to be fine. It's going to be a flourishing and prosperous year. Thank you.
Honorable Minister, the bit about the taxes bit.
Okay, let's go. The governor was clear to you that it's not going to be inflationary. But more important, we have all sorts of tax reliefs that you don't want to talk about. And with regards to the taxes on electricity, that was some time ago, and it doesn't affect, sort of the lifeline tax people. And so I think we should be all right. The emissions tax, as you know, is really 100 cedis a year. That's what we are praying about.
All right, so the finance minister there speaking to journalists on Friday, we're expecting that he is in London today to open talks with commercial creditors on debt restructuring. We are having our eyes on that for you, and we'll update you subsequently. Meantime, the International Monetary Fund has described Ghana's economy as showing signs of recovery. This was after the country completed its first review under the fund program, resulting in some $600 million in disbursement. George Afe has more.
The IMF says reforms efforts are bearing fruit. Growth in 2023 has proven to be resilient. Inflation has declined, and the fiscal and external positions have improved. The IMF in their statement also said that Ghana's performance under the program has been very strong, meeting all the quantitative performance criteria, targets, and structural reforms. Tefaro Day is the mission chief for Ghana and has been speaking from Washington, D.C., USA.
Inflation is going down very rapidly. External and the fiscal position are turning around. The other part of the assessment is that economic activity is performing better than what we had in mind. And this is why we are revising our growth projections up in the context in this review.
The IMF was, however, quick to add that there's a need for government to press ahead with reforms aimed at improving tax administration, strengthening expenditure controls, and enhance fiscal rules to ensure lasting adjustments. Since Ghana signed the IMF program in May last year, it has now received $1.2 billion from the fund. If this assessment is anything to go by, then we should expect some interesting response from the country's donors and investors.
Meantime, interest rates took a nosedive for the third consecutive week, the day the International Monetary Fund approved the first review of Ghana's program. According to auction results by the Bank of Ghana, demand for treasury bills continued to surge. Head of Trading at Republic Securities, Patrick Edemagama, joins us on Zoom. Good afternoon to you, Patrick. What a day it was on Friday. 72% oversubscription of treasury bills. Talk to us about how the auction went on the day the IMF approved Ghana's first review program.
Well, good afternoon, Daryl. On Friday, we noticed that there was a surge in confidence among investors. So we saw a lot of money being thrown at government. We saw the government raising a total of 5.2 billion against a target of 3 billion. Again, the 91-day was the most desired, taking about 50% of the auctions. We saw the 182-day following recording about 25.1% against the 24.9% recorded by the 364-day. The 91-day cleared at an interest rate of 28.88, dropping by 15 basis points. We saw the 182-day clearing at 31.4, also decreasing by 22 basis points, whilst the 364-day also dropped by 26 basis points to close at 32%.
What does this say about investor confidence in the market? And with the interest rates continue to decline, what is the outlook for the money market?
Well, if you look at the trend, we see that investor confidence is rising really high. We've also seen that the control measures with regards to the pricing guideline for the auctions is also working. If you look at the levels at which these particular ones cleared, they cleared almost at the upper end of the pricing guidance. So it means that some control is coming into the system, and that gives government the chance to be able to decrease the rates to the level they really want it to be.
All right, let's turn to the stock market. How do we expect the developments with the IMF to impact on market activities?
Well, what we are seeing is that the entire country is actually getting, although we've been risk rated really high, the risk or the risk perspective of the entire country is getting improved because of this IMF involvement. So we expect the stock market and the entire market to actually react. We noticed that the composite index actually began making positives, recording 0.77%. And then the financial stock index also recorded 0.30% on the back of 5 equities that rose last week. So we expect this to continue as confidence mounts in the market.
And well, demand for GCB and Total Energy shares expected to surge this week. What is happening there?
Well, yes, as confidence is increasing, we see investors deciding to pick those stocks that are appearing to be underpriced. And if you look at the loss that some of these banking stocks recorded last year, they appear to be underpriced. So investors are taking advantage of them as the industry is restoring some confidence. So for Total as well, we notice it's been very high in terms of demand. The offers we are seeing on the market are really high. So we expect the price to rise in due time.
All right. Patrick Adam Agama, Head of Trading Republic Securities. Great to see you. Have a wonderful rest of the day.
Thank you.
Now, the Electricity Company of Ghana says it is yet to implement the 15% value-added tax on power consumed by customers above lifeline levels. The tax was imposed as part of government's post-COVID-19 recovery plan. External Communications Manager of the ECG, Leila Abubakari, tells Joy News that ECG needs a bit more time to understand how to implement the new regime. She also spoke about how the company is dealing with its debt obligations to independent power producers.
So the value-added tax announcement that came into effect in January has appalled a lot of our customers. The truth of the matter is that we haven't started implementing it, even though that letter says that it should have been activated in January. The reason being, we still have to understand how to implement this tax. So we are having active conversations with the Ministry of Finance, with the Ghana Revenue Authority, and with other stakeholders who have also brought their concerns forward. So for now, there's no value-added tax as announced included in residential tariff or residential customers buying electricity. For now, it's still the old status quo. When you buy, there's no VAT added to residential customers buying bills.
So are you equally engaging stakeholders to perhaps resolve some of inter-stakeholder challenges that may be affecting power supply across the country?
We've maintained an active engagement with our stakeholders, who mostly comprise of the power generators, to have them on the same page with us in terms of payments. I think since last year, our revenue generation has increased, and we found a way of ring fencing or having an agreement with the IPPs to hold on to the legacy debts that we owe them. But we are very up to date with the current bills that come to our desk. We try as much as possible to pay off those debts so that they can also function as businesses. And for any other issues that might be within, yes, usually we have engagements with all the stakeholders that are in.
Then your final comment on the VAT.
All right, let's turn to other news. Trade and Industry Minister K.T. Hammond has warned foreign cement manufacturers in Ghana to desist from producing substandard products for the construction sector. Now, he expressed concern such activities are affecting industry. Speaking at a finance ministry engagement with the Chinese business community on mutual prosperity partnership, Mr. Hammond urged the manufacturers to comply with the standard rules in Ghana.
In our cement manufacturing companies. But I'm happy, Excellency, Ambassador, you are here. Whilst I'm at this point, I intend to make this point rather forcefully. It's unpleasant, it's unpalatable, but I intend to make it all the same. I implore you, in your, I don't know, basis on which you hold regular consultations with the community, your business community in the country. But I think they must try as much as possible to comply with the standards of the country. Just the same way they would want to produce items, products, manufactured items to the standards that are applicable in China. We would implore them, Excellency, for them to apply the same standards when they produce items in this country. It's a sad reflection that in the last weeks or month or so, just a couple of months ago, as many as 3 Chinese cement manufacturing companies have been reported to my office for producing substandard cement. And Excellency, I'm sorry, but the horrifying aspect of it, all of it, is that when I try to ensure that they did the right thing, they actually compounded the situation by doing even more, to do something even worse than what had been complained about. I would intend to spare the blushes of these 3 companies by not mentioning their names here, but I think, Excellency, you are aware of them. I have asked that they pull their socks up and put their acts together.
Now, leading telecom company MTN has committed to contributing to the growth of the digital ecosystem in Ghana. According to the Chief Digital Officer at MTN Ghana, Daryl, the company will continue to help startups to grow digitally and provide them with the opportunity to optimize their businesses. He spoke at the MTN Platforms Accelerator Challenge Awards.
MTN Platforms Accelerator Challenge is tailored to empower startups by granting them access to MTN's diverse digital platforms, providing them with the means to expand their businesses and optimize their financial potential. Chief Digital Officer at MTN Ghana, Daryl, said the challenge is aimed at helping startups to grow digitally and improve their efficiency.
We want MTN to participate to the digital ecosystem and to be a contributor of the growth of digital in Ghana. Through the Platform Accelerator, we explain to the startups how to use Kinosis, our APIs, how to use Momo, of course, to collect and to receive payments, and of course, more important, how to build a micro app to be placed on Ayoba, our super app. So the startups were trained on how to use the APIs, and then they had a few weeks to prepare and actually develop and put live an API. At the end, we had more than 20 micro apps live already on Ayoba, so you can all go on Ayoba and try them.
Courage Asase, founder of Tech Hub Node 8, who won the Tech Hub Award, said the challenge was timely and would help build the capacity of startups.
The focus has been to support startups and young people with our mandates. We have 2 mandates. We do what we call the digital skills training, train young people with skill sets, and then enterprise support businesses that are young people that have businesses either through our incubator or accelerator models. And so as you can see, we have some startups who competed, who won, and then we also won the best tech support hub. So that's the journey for us.
Own a Radio won the Best Momo Solution Award and was presented with 20,000 Ghana cedis, while Node 8 won the Tech Hub Award and received a cash prize of 50,000 Ghana cedis.
Now, Ghanaian food vendors and other petty traders in Abidjan, Ivory Coast, are taking advantage of the ongoing Africa Cup of Nations tournament to boost sales. The traders who have been making business from the thousands of Ghanaian fans who throng their restaurants on a daily basis since the start of the competition say the tournament has been a huge boost to their businesses. Joy News' correspondent Anasa Bid has been engaging some of them.
Inside the Ghanaian community here in Churchville, where we've come across lots and lots of Ghanaians, and then food joints are scattered all over, selling Ghanaian foods like fufu, banku, rice, kinky, and what have you. Today, we have hit the streets and we are engaging food sellers who are trading in major Ghanaian dishes. We want to engage them, we want to find out from them how their sales have been prior to the tournament, and then now that the tournament is ongoing, whether Ghanaians who have trooped into Abidjan and their numbers are patronizing their foods. Let's get speaking with these food sellers whose main target is the Ghanaian fans who are inside Côte d'Ivoire.
This time no, wow, brutal.
Oh, dear, also Africa Cup no. You also Kurumua. In fact, I'm not Kuna in butu. Ghana for swap Kurumua.
Clearly, business is booming for most of these, food sellers we've been engaging. Their sole prayer now is for the Black Stars of Ghana to win their game against Mozambique. And by winning, it means more Ghanaians will be staying. And the longer the Ghanaian fans stay, the more their business or their food they are selling will be patronized as expected. So they are hoping and praying that the Black Stars will win, and this will keep the Ghanaian fans within town so their business will boom.
All right, fingers crossed. Hope the Black Stars make it to the next round of the AFCON. We'll be watching tonight to see what happens. But next is the Joy Business Advisory Series. In studio with me is Prosper Melome, who is partner, investment banking, Bridgewater Advisors Africa. Last Friday, we started a conversation on deal flow, which was pretty insightful. But we want to switch topics this afternoon and talk about mergers and acquisitions, key considerations for business. Thanks for joining us in studio. I don't know if you want to say something about the Black Stars. As you're all hoping
for the best.
You sound very
for some of us, for
apathetic.
We've been a bit slow on Black Stars. We hope for the best.
Right, fingers crossed. So I want us to start with the basic concept of what mergers and acquisitions are really, just for those watching to get some insight or understanding to what it is.
Okay, so businesses typically go through a life cycle. Every business, from startup, growth, and so on and so forth. For businesses growing, typically they would want to, for Ghanaian businesses, go through a natural process of growth, which can take a really long time. But M&As are pretty much like a fast-track system of growth. Now, saying M&As, we need to bear in mind there's a difference between mergers and then acquisitions.
Okay.
So for acquisitions, it's a business taking over another. A good example in our market is when Societe Generale took over SSB. Then we have mergers, which are two businesses coming together to form a different entity, but then operating as one. Classical example within the finance space, once again, is Onibisek.
Right. Okay. Just talk to us about the trends as well. Maybe, I don't know, in recent times or in 2023, if we are seeing such deals take place.
Right. So for traditional Ghanaian businesses, in exploring growth, M&A hasn't really been the option for most businesses.
Why is that?
There's a component of equity. That last week I mentioned that most of deal flows within our market is debt-driven. Ghanaian businesses are not too friendly to the equity conversation. But so most of the
because they have some fears.
Well, businesses are pretty much treated like personal babies or assets of most founders. And and if you look at the traditional setting of businesses within our setting and community, many businesses were founded on the basis of a means of survival. All right. So over time, founders kind of have this close attachment to businesses and don't feel quite comfortable getting in others. The other bit too is the bit of transparency.
Okay.
A lot of traditional businesses are not too transparent. So most of the mergers and acquisitions in our market have been driven by regulatory reforms. Typical or classic is the financial sector. We saw a number of institutions merging and others selling out. We saw First Atlantic take over Energy Bank, and then we saw that of Sahel Sahara, and then Omnibank forming Omnibisic. So these are some of the drivers, but there's also the conversation of competition. We've seen that in the telcos, and I would say that for cross-border M&As, for example, we saw Vodafone come in to take over Ghana Telecom. We've also seen the merger of Airtel Tigo to survive in the marketplace.
Yeah. So at what point, because I think most Ghanaian businesses will shy away from that because of the misconceptions, but at what point should businesses consider mergers or acquisitions, and of what benefit is it for maybe, let's say, a struggle? I mean, businesses have been talking about struggles lately.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's a really good question, Daryl. I mean, mergers and acquisitions in its fine form gives opportunity for businesses to do more than they would ordinarily have done if they were to remain independent. Let me give a typical example. If you and I were two independent businesses, I had 100, you had 100, and then there was a market opportunity of 200. How will we take advantage of that opportunity if we remain independent?
Okay.
But if we came together to form a business worth 200, then we can seize that opportunity. Mergers and acquisitions can also be a mechanism of survival. All right, so a classic example of what I just said, the example I just took us through, it could be like for the banks, there was the question of stated capital. Right? When the regulator revised the stated capital, banks who couldn't meet the stated capital had to consider ways of coming together. So same as the marketplace, sometimes a giant competitor comes into the place and then sort of the small players in the marketplace begin to shake. But if they consider the option of mergers, they'll be able to form a more formidable force to survive.
I remember during the times last year where there was so much struggle for businesses. I mean, small businesses were being advised to, merge so that they can, withstand the economic shocks. What are the key considerations that businesses have to make before entering into a merger, for instance? What should they be looking at before they do that?
Right, so be it a merger or an acquisition, there's a form of marriage you can think about in this. That's ordinary marriage. So one, we say target. Finding the right target is really important, or finding a party to merge with is really, really important. Companies must invest time and resources in finding the right target. Now, when you find the right target, make sure to invest in the right professionals to carry out due diligence. In due diligence, there's what we call financial due diligence, and then there's also what we call legal due diligence. If the business is a technical or specialized field, then there may be the need for technical due diligence. Once due diligence is good to go, then the next consideration is valuations and pricing, because every transaction is done based on a price, and that price is justified by valuations. Once again, the right professionals must be engaged to carry out valuations. Then when businesses decide to come together, there are issues that may emerge after that joining. We call this post-acquisition integration issues. So in that scenario, once again, the right professionals should be considered in assisting businesses in integration.
And you need legal advice, I suppose?
Most definitely.
Okay. Talk to us next about the risks when it comes to mergers and acquisitions. Are there any risks to look out for?
Yes, definitely. I mean, there's a lot of conversation out there about mergers that have failed. So you can get your businesses can get it wrong right from the wrong target. That is why I mentioned doing the right target search. If you merge with the wrong target, it wouldn't work. If you go in at the wrong price or valuation, you have issues. We also have the issues of weak due diligence. All right, you appraise a business based on its financial statements. If not done well, the value you thought the business had, the business doesn't have it. And that is a massive risk. Finally, if you get all the first bits right, but you fail to integrate well, then that's an issue. I mean, integration, we have issues to do with technology, culture, and a number of other things. There's also the risk to do with regulatory or compliance bits. There are some mergers or acquisitions that need regulatory approval. So that is also something to factor in there.
Okay, we've got 30 seconds left. I want you to speak with our audience, I mean business owners who are watching 2024. If you've got any investment tip for them because you're an investment banker,
all right,
what would that be?
Okay, so I'll speak in view of mergers and acquisitions.
Okay.
I encourage Ghanaian businesses to look at each other quite well. Look at places where, I mean, you could achieve what we call synergies. There's a way two entities can make more revenue than they are making independently. There are opportunities to cut costs if you come together. Instead of having two different head offices, you could have just one. Instead of having two different...
That cuts cost, doesn't it?
Yeah, that cuts cost, and that increases your profits. So this is my advice to businesses in 2024 to consider mergers and acquisitions as an alternative to traditional growth.
Yeah, important advice there. Thank you so much, Professor Melome, investment banker with Bridgewater Advisors Africa. It's good to have you in the studio. Hopefully we'll have you another time to talk about some of these things that are so important to us. I'll be watching the game as well tonight. Sure. Yeah, and that's the marketplace, everyone. Thanks for watching. There is more news on our website, myjoyonline.com/business. Head over there for the day's latest stories. My name is Daryl Kwawu. Thanks for watching.